reference to like not having to be perfect.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because like so many things in my life, I waited for like the perfect. Like I wanted to be perfect. Like, oh, I can't be a fit. Like I battled imposter syndrome a lot with the personal training people. Because like at the time I was training people, it was like after my heart surgery, I gained like weight. I was kind of like puffy. I wasn't like in like peak physical shape.
Yeah.
So like I wasn't like big, but I was like probably like 15 pounds more than I am now, and I just felt like an imposter. So like I didn't want to train people. It's like, how can I train or tell people what to do if like I'm not in great shape?
Yeah.
So like that really, I think, hindered me like in that field, like feeling I was like not enough, and also led to me like unhealthy eating patterns of like super restricting, but then it led to like restrict binge.
So, I mean, a follow-up question I have about that is, when you, this whole idea of like you being in physical peak condition, like, was that bar and measure constantly moving? Or did you have like was it like, oh, when my body fat is X, Y, Z, I have washboard abs, I'm in peak. What was peak physical condition back then?
So, I similar to your group, like I was like a heavy kid. I was always heavy, and I finally lost weight. Like not dieting properly, like in 8th grade. I was like 225 pounds in like 5th grade. I was heavier than I am now in 5th grade. I was like a big post tall, and then I finally like died, not unhealthy like my dad, like 6 small meals, like eating like half a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch, like an apple, like just like super low calorie.
Yeah.
I went down to like 188, which was like
What?
Which was the lightest I've been since probably like 3rd grade.
188?
188 at like probably like 5'11", 6 foot.
And how old were you?
I was 13.
So you dropped out from
25.
So 188.
188. That's like the lightest I've been to recent memory. And then freshman year football, I gained weight, and I was on varsity, so I gained a bunch of weight. Not like good weight, but I was only like probably 215. I was playing basketball, so like I was staying relatively lean. And then after basketball season, like I was like for football, I was like, oh, gotta eat. I went up to like 255 to up to 265 sophomore year.
And from the 180 to 255, what was the time frame?
So this was 8th grade summer to probably winter of sophomore year of high school.
So
I went
2 years.
2 years. I went from 188 to like 265. And it
24
was
months.
Sloppy weight. It wasn't like I probably put on maybe like 10 pounds of muscle.
Could you walk me back through kind of like when you were in that bulking phase? Because what I'm trying to understand is, because I think it's very interesting, when you were cutting, what motivated you to cut? Like when you dropped from 225 to 180, and what happened to your mindset that even though you went naturally to cut to 180, you reversed up to 250? Like, what do you think happened? Like, could you talk me through that?
Yeah, so the like initial mindset to drop down to 188, I guess, was like honestly like for like female attention, and then like also like my dad was always on my case, like to like stop eating, like lose weight, like always like on my shit, on my shit, so I was fat. And then the reverse catalyst was like the gain weight was like when the game was like more of like my dad was kind of encouraging it. It was like for football, like you're get big, like
you're masculine.
I'm actually like lifting now, like let's build muscle, like let's get big, let's be a lineman, like be a big strong guy. But I just went to extreme. Like it was just like I was eating like after practice I'd order like a full chicken parm dinner from an Italian restaurant, like a full pizza to myself. Like, I was purposely like forcing myself more food. Like I'd have eating competitions with my friends. Like my friends would like watch me like eat like 12 slices of pizza. Like I was forcefully eating. Like, oh, I'm gonna get. They were like trying to encourage me to get to 300 pounds, like for football.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was close. I was like 255, 270, and it was just like, and honestly, the weight did help with football, but I was playing both ways. It was just too much. And then like the real moment where like I realized like this wasn't healthy is I got a trainer at Test Sports Club. His name was Jared. He actually was a coach at North Hunterdon. Great guy. He's a trainer there. And he's like, we did like a body fat test, and he's like, dude, you're just fat. Like, and it was the first time he was just dead honest with me, and like, he's like, this isn't muscle, it's just fat. And I was like, whoa. And that's why I really like took a step back and I was like, he's right. Like I didn't feel good about myself, I wasn't confident, I was always wearing sweatshirts in school. And so from then I actually got like I learned about nutrition, like got like good, healthy, like learned what real food was. I didn't starve myself, I just ate better. Yeah. Like instead of eating like chicken parm, pizza, like just like chicken parm subs for lunch, like just bad stuff. I was like, okay, like I'll eat grilled chicken, I'll eat rice, I'll eat sweet potatoes, I'll eat eggs, I'll eat steel cut oats. Like I was still eating a lot because I was working out a lot. And I went down to 215. And like I saw abs for the first time. Like it was the first time I felt comfortable in my body.
So walk me back again. So sophomore, senior year, if I heard you correctly, you could just nod. Sophomore year, the end of sophomore year, you hit your peak weight. So did you meet the test guy in your off season leading into your junior year, or okay? So how long did it take you to go from doing a DEXA scan and being called morbidly obese by this guy, like that, to like seeing your abs? How long did that take?
So it was probably, I'd say probably February or March of my sophomore year of high school, and then going into my junior year of like in August, end of August, I started to see abs.
Wow, so that's a pretty so when you there's two questions I have. Number one, I just want to finish the point. When you made a decision to not be fat anymore, you mentioned you were eating cleaner foods, but what was your mindset shift? And was there any point in which you were influenced again to bulk up again?
The mindset, and honestly, at this time, I wasn't tracking calories.
Wow.
Like I just changed. Like I learned like I really like doing like muscle and fitness. Like I like googling like healthy foods. Like again, it helped that I was so active. Like I was lifting at least once a day. Like doing cardio. Like I was very active. But I just changed, and I think also without even realizing it, I built up like a good metabolism because I was forcing myself to eat. I was lifting still, so I was building some muscle. Like I had behind like that, like 70 or 65 pounds of fat. Like the 65, 70 pounds I put on, probably maybe like 20, 30 pounds that was actually muscle. So like I was, throughout the time I was eating like awful, I was also always lifting. So I built up my metabolism so much. And I probably like, my basal metabolic rate probably was the highest in my life because I was forcing my, so once I didn't change portions, I did change portions, but I just really shifted my foods, and that's when I dropped about 40, 50 pounds. And through that process, I was consistently lifting, but again, I wasn't like now, like tracking calories, macros. I was always eating a lot of protein, like make protein shakes, like eggs, meat, just prioritizing protein and like good carbs, like sweet potatoes, steel cut oats, rice, but not tracking. Like I was eating to satisfy. I wasn't forcing myself to eat anymore, not doing food competitions. And in that like 6 to 8 months, I really transformed my body. Got lean for the first time. Like actually had muscle. So I got lean in 8th grade. Like I was light, but I didn't have muscle. Like I was 188, but I didn't have like any ab definition or like bicep pain or anything. Yeah, so
you weren't like,
first time,
you didn't have good muscle definition.
Yeah. So it was the first time I saw any of that.
In terms of self-confidence and then also your self-image view of yourself, when did that take a turn for the positive? And what's that process like? Like your self-image?
Yeah, it was probably like, I remember like literally like the start of football season junior year was the first time I felt confident with my shirt off.
Wow.
And like, I remember like, again, Snapchatting girls and like, oh, like I actually could Snapchat a girl and I actually have abs for the first time. So honestly, it hindered my football performance because, again, as a lineman, defensive end, right tackle, like you shouldn't be really concerned about abs and like how you look.
Functional strength.
Yes. And I was getting like, I had felt the first time confident in my body, had muscle, was getting some female attention for the first time. And so like, I was like in a weird place of like, I want to be great at football and do well, but I also don't want to get fat and like lose this. So like, it was a weird, like, so I never really, I gained like 10 pounds into my senior year, but it was better weight. Like I still probably gained like 3 or 4 pounds of fat, but probably 6 pounds of muscle. And I was getting stronger. I was still not tracking calories, but just like eating well. But honestly, it'd probably been better if I was like 10 or 20 pounds heavier for football.
So if you were to encounter Tom Leffler, who was just about to make the first cut, the unhealthy cut from 225 to 185, what advice would you give him?
Instead of like trying to have myself like just like restrict calories so much in portions, I'd be like, hey, like let's just eat better foods. Like let's just like, instead of like trying, like I was hungry a lot. Like I was just like,
it's crazy.
Like I was always a big guy. Like imagine eating a half a peanut butter jelly sandwich for lunch. Like I was just like constantly like hungry, like eating small meals. Be like, hey, maybe don't eat a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Maybe have like a chicken breast and some like rice, or chicken breast and some vegetables. Like I would have done the approach I did my junior year, of just like switching healthier foods. But at the time, I knew nothing about nutrition. Like I was just taking advice from my dad, and his was just portion control, like eat smaller meals.
So, going back, and I don't know whether you can recall this, obviously you have the male figure like your dad, kind of not barking down orders, but giving an ultimatum essentially to get in shape. What was going on with what you were seeing in media? Like, because you mentioned Snapchat. What were you seeing on the internet? What were you seeing on TV? Like, how much of that did that have an influence on your negative self-image as well, in terms of like what was going on, like outside of your immediate sphere of influence?
I guess I was fortunate at the time, like Instagram wasn't big at the time. The only thing I really remember, like social media wise, like Facebook, Instagram I might have been just starting, but like
YouTube. Were you big on YouTube or no?
No.
Wow.
Honestly, social media was later in my life.
Wow.
I was just like so focused on like sports, athletics, like and like I never really was a big social media phone person until like later on, and that became more of an issue.
Because I feel like in a lot of guys coming to age story,
Muscle magazines weren't good for me though. Muscle and fitness.
That's what I was just about to say. So
unrealistic expectations.
So when you were looking at muscle and fitness magazines, who were some athletes at the time? Some physique athletes that
Steve Weatherford by far.
Steve Weatherford.
He was a punter for the Giants. Guy was shredded.
Oh wait! I think I know who you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He had like the teardrop in his quad and everything.
He was ripped. I followed his workout and everything like crazy.
And it seemed, it's interesting that you decide Steve Weatherford. Can you take me back to why you think Steve Weatherford was one of the people in muscle and fitness that appealed to you?
I think because he was an athlete. He was a professional athlete. At the time, I was an athlete, and like I wanted I wanted to look good, but I also wanted to kind of be functional. And I feel like he kind of like embodied that. And
His physique is ridiculous, dude.
Yeah.
This is absurd.
Yeah.
This is like he's a bodybuilder.
Now he kind of is like a bodybuilder.
He is a bodybuilder. Okay.
Yeah.
Back then he was still pretty.
But he has different genetics. Like I'm probably like a meso-endomorph, and he's an ecto-meso.
Yeah.
So like he has those genes where he can't get probably fat. Like like I mean he can, but it's hard for him.
It's very difficult.
He was naturally skinny. Versus I feel like we both are naturally
inclined to be fat.
Yes. So
that's so dope. So now tying this all into kind of bringing this all back to like my question that we kind of said before we started filming. When you read the story or read the book about immediate action, right? So what do you feel is one of the greatest barriers right now in your life? Because obviously you have some success, not some success, you have great success in the business. Obviously you took it to another height and you continue to be a visionary. You have plans, obviously, for other businesses in terms of challenging yourself. I know you always mention about including your friends and creating a community, an atmosphere of success around you, and also carrying everyone around you. Where do you feel are some areas where, like, right now you still kind of like hold back on implementing, like, just do it kind of?
With the business, fortunate enough, my dad worked his ass off to create a business that was self-existing, and I came in and just I went to business school, so I saw the businesses. I worked as an accountant, so I came into a business that was run very inefficiently.
Yes.
But the man was the hardest work I've ever done in my life. Mm-hmm. So I came in and just made some changes, like changed the update with QuickBooks. Like didn't have QuickBooks, I did the payroll processing system because we had 500 employees. But like back to your question, the main thing that now is holding me back is honestly the fear of more success.
Oh, interesting.
Because I'm very lucky that, again, I exist in business, and I was lucky with every decision I made, I've seen success. And I put working out and work above everything else.
Yes.
Personal friendships and relationships. And when I first started to get some financial success and I had money, I realized money is nothing for me personally if I can't enjoy it with people. And I lost an intimate relationship with a person who really was with me when I was in like the growth phase of like work mode, grind mode, like monk mode, like 90-hour weeks, like all about work. And I lost that relationship because I was just egotistical and naive of what a relationship takes. And now looking back, like this past year, I finally had like more freedom in the business because I implemented things that worked. I had the financial and the freedom, and it's like, oh shit, like what do I do now?
Literally, like you're literally looking around. And you're like, oh snap! Like this is literally.
That's why I work towards.
You almost feel like you're on square one.
Exactly. And then another thing is that people don't talk about, entrepreneurship is a very lonely route. Again, it's lonely in the sense that many people, like, you want to include them, you want to tell them about things, but also if your friend's working a 9 to 5 and they're making maybe like 50, 60K a year, you can't tell them, hey, like I just made $5,000 this morning on a deal.
And not only that, they can't even understand your world, because your world is so vastly different from what they experience on a day-to-day basis that it's almost frustrating. And you, sorry to interject, but do you also feel as though that sometimes part of that isolation is self-preservation? Because when you table ideas to people who are normally in this 9 to 5 mentality, they can in a sense kill a good idea before even it comes to fruition. Do you feel self-preservation is part of that isolation as well?
I don't feel like they're going to kill ideas. I feel like I don't talk about a lot of things with them because I feel like I'm bragging or boasting. And I don't want to create that weird relationship because actually I had an instance this summer, like when my buddy was with me, we were working out together in the gym, and like we met at the gym like whatever, like 7:30 in the morning. And before I met him, actually I went to a pool, made a deal, and made about $1,800. Like before I even like he got like to the gym, and I told him like I was excited, like it was a cool thing. I'm like, yo, like I'm like, dude, I just made $1,800 tonight at 7:30 a.m. You're like, this is sick. I remember the guy did this, and like I saw like he didn't say it,
glaze over,
but I saw his facial reaction. Like he's like, it made me feel like less. You know, it's like because like he's in a line of work where he can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe down the line he can, but like that's the thing. And but at the same time, I saw that, and that's the first time I ever really shared like something like that with somebody, and I felt like awful. I'm like, oh, that was not my intention. I don't want to bring you down, like make you feel less. I'm like, and that's why now I just keep my mouth shut. And the only person I disclose really numbers to is my dad.
Yeah.
Because the only one I can.
100%.
And it does create a barrier there because I think it is like, I mean,
but it protects your peace.
Yeah.
But it protects your peace.
But it's hard.
It is hard because you want to share your successes with your friends, and unfortunately, it's kind of unfortunate not to have that release because you know you would think that someone who you're, because when that person talks about a win, it's like, you know, you're like gung ho, like whatever. You enjoy some more bison?
Always, yeah.
So it's crazy, man. It's insane. It's insane to think about that.
Thank you.
But like,
Nice.
I ate 300 grams of bison.
Thank you.
I ate 300 grams. I made sure to take care of myself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
So like,
for coming.
did you dig into that like feeling of like how you felt bad? Like, because you said you felt bad, but that's very like kind of generic. Like,
Yeah, I felt like I was riding a high from like that morning.
Yes.
And like, again, this is someone I've known for
most of your life.
at least 10 years.
Yeah.
Like at least 10 years, like a long time, and like we talk about everything together.
Yeah.
Like everything, I guess besides like the actual financials of the business. And it was like the first instance, I guess, where we were together and I shared, I guess, like a financial win. And when I saw his like facial reaction, it was kind of like, not that it like justified or reminded me of like my preconceived notion about sharing financial information, like why I never do it, but it kind of solidified like, okay, like that's might not be a bad idea. I gotta like realize like he didn't say anything, like he said like, oh, that's cool, like, you know, like he didn't like verbalize like, oh that's cool, man, like sick, like you're a cool guy, like, but like he tried to make it seem like, oh, that's like good, that's like a good thing, but
his body,
his facial reaction,
yeah.
his eyes, like everything said like he felt like, oh fuck, like this guy just made $1,800, what am I doing? Like, you know, like it's not even 7:30 yet, like, and so I felt like I just made him feel less, and in that moment, I just felt like I was boasting, I was bragging, I was just like being cocky.
But you weren't.
That wasn't my
Our
intention.
part.
But
And the ironic thing about it, I'm sure if you were to sit down and really think about this guy's skills, I'm sure there's a lot of areas that this person is extremely talented that you wish that you had as skills, right? So
without a question.
So you know, isn't that very ironic that you know, I never met the guy, but I'm 100% sure that there's characteristics you can look at. You're like, dude, if I had that characteristic, like I would be at this level, like I would be more efficient in this area and all that stuff. But it's I think it's very interesting as men how, unfortunately, because of our prideful nature, we go back to the heart posture, because again, nonverbal communication is very powerful. We go to the heart posture of, oh man, my life is screwed up. Like I obviously made the wrong decision in my life. Rather than, if that's truly how he felt, he could have just reached out to you and be like, yo, Tom, honestly, man, like what you said inspired me. Like, you know, you're my buddy. Like I've seen you grow up. Like, what are ways in which I can, you know what I mean? But again, it doesn't take away from that emotion that he felt, because it's safe to say someone could feel that emotion, but not acknowledging that, I feel like that causes schisms in people's relationships. Because at least you'd be able to move past that. Yeah. Like, all right, maybe this is actually what he felt, and it wasn't like you know what I mean? It wasn't that like
ego shot.
Yeah, but it was very clear that it was an ego shot because there was no follow up. It was kind of like change the subject quickly, like let me not feel terrible about myself. And then he probably was hyper conscious about conversations to not let it go in places like that, because he didn't want to feel, condemned in his own life. That's another thing that I wanted to ask you about. So, like, when you're making a decision, like a big decision in your life to like change how you're eating, or like making deliberate changes in your company. So obviously, you mentioned how like it's lonely on the top as an entrepreneur. How are ways that someone can still maintain that focus on getting things done while still maintaining relationships in your perspective right now? I'm not trying to interject with that.
No, but honestly, I did everything wrong. Like I just would like keep people out and just be like, oh, they don't know, or honestly, when they would like, a lot of it came from unsolicited advice. Like yes. They'd see me working so much, be like, oh, you could do this better, you could do this better. Like they would always feel like they knew better. And like, I would just like, I never got mad. I would just like hear it out and be like, okay, like, and honestly, it's kind of annoying because like, they see one part of it and like they see I'm working hard. And don't get me wrong, like when you're in it and like you're just like literally surviving, like trying to keep your head above water between answering calls, emails in a day, like working like 16-hour days, 7 days a week for like weeks on end. The last thing you want to hear is like, oh, you should be doing this. Like you should implement this idea. It's like, I'm just trying to survive the day.
Spit on the face.
Yeah, and that's a lot of like the advice I got, or like people in my life shared, was that early. But also I feel the communication in my relationships, like, hey, like you're right, but right now, like let's talk about this in the winter. Like let's talk about it, like when I'm not like freaking out right now, but like I just like took it and be like, okay, like yeah, like you're right, and this was like I really don't do it. Like this is fine.
But my question is this: was there ever a situation where it would fester?
In what sense?
In your mind, like your opinion of the person would change. Because I'm trying to understand and try to pinpoint the isolation. So like, if someone would give that unsolicited advice in a time that it was obvious that it was missed opportunity, it shouldn't have been said at that point. What would your relationship with that person look like? Would you now guard the time that you spend with them? Like, do you understand what I'm?
Yeah, I just wouldn't like. I mean, honestly, at the time, like they wouldn't see them much, and like they'd only see me like like this particular person, like when I was working out.
Passing,
yeah, like we'd be working out, like I'd be doing something anyway, and like I also don't do a good job. Like I wear my emotions, like my stress. I think you see in my eyes, like I'm not really there. So that's the times like they're like, oh, you gotta change this. Like I see it on, like you gotta do this. And honestly, even my intimate relationship, like it wasn't as bad, but like at times where she'd like, oh, you make these ideas, but I did think I communicated with her, and like she would be like, hey, keep a list and write it down. Like that worked out better, because then in the winter when I had more time, we could debrief like, oh, those are good ideas, and like implement those ideas. And I didn't implement actually a lot of them when I had the time and energy to implement them. But it did honestly strain the thing, because like I'm like I don't want to be with somebody like hang out with them. Like it add more stress. Like we should be like de-stressing, but you're with me and you're just like trying to like add in and give me all these ideas, like, and I didn't even ask for them.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel with a lot of people with even advice. Like I don't give advice to anybody unless they ask me.
Yes.
Because I honestly I don't think I have the right to say you should be doing my life, because my life ain't perfect, like far from perfect. Like I may like on a surface level, yeah, I might have like be financially stable and I might physically look decent, but like that doesn't mean I think you should be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But if someone comes to me and is like, hey, like Tom, I see you've been consistent lifting or in shape for the last few years, like what do you do? I would love to do that. Or like business wise, I see like, oh, like you're financially stable, like I think you do stock investments, like what do you do? I'll give, if someone comes to me and asks, I'll give you all the advice. 100%. But I'm not want to go up to be like, hey sir, like I think you should work out today and you should go to bed at this time, do this morning routine, meditate, eat this, and that's what you should do. Yeah. And he'll probably be like, who the heck are you?
Literally.
And I think I don't give advice because I've got so much unsolicited advice, and I felt like I never was nasty about it, but I'm like, if I want advice, I'll ask.
Literally.
And I feel like people don't receive it well if they don't ask for it. And I don't think like people, I mean, we all have our own issues.
Yeah.
And like, who says I live better than anybody else? 'Cause I don't think that's true.
So going back to solicited advice, you know, I think in our day and age, a lot of people like recommend books and stuff. You know, the people who just randomly in conversation just throw books at you to read. Mm-hmm. In terms of receptiveness in books, like, what do you like? What's your process in picking out a book? Like, because I know you mentioned a lot about kind of like that. Like, what's your process like in picking a book and like, you know, really diving into it?
So I guess early on with like books, I would look at like the people, like the not famous, or maybe famous, but like famous podcasters or mentors, and find the common books that they all recommend, like Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss,
Ray Dalio.
Yeah, like all those guys, like they have lists of books that they recommend. Like a lot of these, like Chris Williamson has a podcast, like all these guys that I follow, Jay Fruya, again, all these different guys I follow, they all have books they recommend, and I would look for the common denominator. If like 5 different people recommend this at the top 10 or list, it's probably a good book.
Yeah.
So that's how I justified the beginning, like reading books. Like all of them was like Viktor Frankl's A Man's Search for Meaning. That was one of them. As a Man Thinketh. That was another one that was common amongst a lot of people. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Those are like my first like 3 books that like everybody that like I followed or like looked up to or like looked for advice, they all recommend it.
7 highly effective habits of highly successful people. Mm-hmm. That's one of the top 10 lists as well, right? Mm-hmm. But that's very interesting. So your process basically is looking for people who know what they're saying, who've had a lot of conversations with people, and then makes recommendations. That's a very good, like, refined and repeatable process. Mm-hmm. So with where you're at right now, like mentally, like what would you say is going really well for you in terms of like your structure in your day and stuff like that? And what are some areas that you know that you need improvement, but like you just think like time will kind of sort it out?
So one thing that I guess I've developed so much is like, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. And so like I said, like I'm going to do like cold shower today. I have a whole morning routine, like cold shower, like meditate, ground, journal, workout, like I'll do that. But one thing it's a weird thing is like, when you talk with a lot of like hyper disciplined or hyper focused people, it's like, I'm more conscious of like thinking like, what should I actually put my attention to? Wow. And like, I've kind of honestly in a weird stage of my life where I'm not really sure what my like next step is going to be, because I thought I literally had my goals written out, like I want this, and I achieved 2 of them, and like the other ones were coming. And I was like, I'm the most unhappy, unfulfilled person. Yes. So I'm actually taking a step back right now in a weird spot for me. Like I'm kind of in limbo. Like I'm questioning and considering like what should I actually focus my energy towards? Because I have confidence in myself. Like if I want that thing, I'll get it. Yeah. But it's like, is the cost worth it? That's something we talked about earlier. It's like everything has a cost. There's a cost to being in shape. It's gonna take less. Like for example, like talk about yourself. Like if you want to be in shape, you have to forgo some family time. Yeah. You have to forgo like any probably leisure or downtime that you have. Sometimes sleep. You have to forgo like meeting with people, hanging out with people. You have to forgo like even being probably energized in the day. Like there's a lot of things that you like. People think, oh, like they're in great shape. And like it's a good thing. It is a good thing, but there's a cost to that.
100%. And
especially once you get down the spectrum of like a high performer person, and especially if you have a family like you do, you have a wife, you have a child. You commute to the city, like you don't have a lot of time. So something else,
even getting that fitness is just half the battle. Now you have to maintain it, right?
And that again, fitness could be a lot of areas. Like it could be mental fitness, physical fitness. We're focusing on physical fitness, but even the physical, as you know, like you could be dialed with your physical fitness
and spiritually be out of whack. Like literally just be like tossed around like the wind.
Yeah.
Or even mentally be absolutely weak, feeble.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can be extreme. In fact, you know there was a study put out about. There's 2 studies about men with muscle and men with tattoos. So men with tattoos actually have higher rates of depression. So that pain of like going through the tattoo process is actually a way for them to escape from the pain of the agony or anguish. I think anguish is the word of life. And then likewise, in terms of depression and anxiety, weight training actually like assists like people in terms of alleviating that. So you'll find it's very common in the gym, some of the most muscular looking tattooed people were actually absolutely in mental anguish.
Yeah.
Like serious, like I don't know how else to say it, like Joker energy, but not tyrannical Joker, like Joker, like I can't take it anymore, anguish. And you know, again, it really goes to your point about how physical fitness is not the end all be all in terms of the spectrum. So as you speak into your term of limbo right now, like how has that been? It's like going from someone who's constantly striving towards things to just kind of sitting back and kind of allowing, like in a sense, God's will to happen in your life. Like how has that been?
Awful. Honestly, terrible. I thrive in chaos. Like I thrive in like having like I would prefer waking up and having to work 16 hours a day versus now like I'm like creating like little like creating micro adversities, but like having more time to like process my thoughts, feel emotions actually really for the first time in my life, because I was so numb for so long, because I was just, when I was doing the pool business, I had no time to have emotions. Then after pool business, I was working 3 personal trainer jobs, just keeping that workaholic energy.
Yeah.
And then these last 2 winters, like it was like the first time where I wasn't just like throwing back and just like doing busy work and like actually like taking time with myself, and like it's awful. Like people, that's another thing too that I've come to realize, like people think like retirement, like I'm working towards retirement, like this is the best thing ever, like when I'm 65 I'll have my feet up and like drinking margaritas on the beach. That does sound good, but if you're fortunate enough, like I'm blessed to do that for 2 weeks, come back to me, let me know how that is. You're miserable. You're miserable. And so that's something I'm lucky at a young age I realize is like I can't do anything. I need structure. So like I create structure. I don't have to wake up at 5:45 in the morning. I could sleep into 12 o'clock right now and still do what I have to do, but I force that upon myself. I wake up, I work out, I have a morning routine, I have a night routine. But this limbo phase is awful. I'm trying to just honestly fill like a part-time job or something just to escape myself.
Yeah.
But I know I have to sit with this and process what this is. And I'm trying to frame it in a way where like I'm having this midlife or retirement crisis at 28 years old. Yeah. So that's why we started, like, this is why this is going to go, this is going to happen, this is why the Apollo Fuel, like, it's all tying into that. It's like to serve and to realize like there's more to life than just work.
100%.
And I think work is important. I prefer just to work, honestly. I would prefer right now to have like a work an hourly job, even just to stay busy, stay out of my own head.
It's a distraction.
It's 100% distraction.
So I've always like I feel safe asking this. I've always battled with why people want to escape their own mind. Like, I've always been so comfortable within my own mind because I understand that, like, you know, in many regards, like that's where the battle was won, right? Because if one isn't comfortable with their mind, it's very difficult to kind of to really find meaning in life. Like, you know, when you consider that book that you mentioned, Viktor Frankl, if you really consider the terms of events in his life, he actually had an opportunity to come to the States prior to and I'm sorry for going on a tangent.
No, you're good.
So he had the opportunity to go to the United States of America, but he decided to stay with his family, with the familial tie. And then unfortunately, because some our audience may have never read the book, unfortunately the Holocaust happened. And here it is, another thing is Viktor Frankl is actually a doctor. And not only is he a regular doctor, he's a psychologist. So he's sitting in these internment camps watching extreme extents of human starvation human depravity and just like straight up like greed. Like you see guards doing all types of crazy things.
Even the own Jewish people taking advantage
of other Jewish people. And he saw some people absolutely break instantly. Some people go through a process of being broken. And then some people still maintaining themselves. Even him as an observer, it's interesting watching him come. Like part of the thing that kept him sane was that he needed to kind of pass on this thing. So I ask you, what do you feel like was his thesis at the end of the book?
Well, adding to that before I say this, like he could tell when someone's going to die the next day just based on their will. It was crazy.
Yeah.
You could just see it. Like,
but do you feel that's something that you can notice too, or no?
With myself?
No, like in general.
With like people's will? I mean,
because you mentioned like I hate to bring this up, but like your grandmother. Remember what she called? She gave
I was just gonna say that topic. Like
that's crazy that we.
So again, my grandmother, 88 years old, had bone cancer, diabetic, congenital heart failure, obese, and so she had all these things. Had breast cancer before too, but her familial ties to us was huge. Like she was like the only grandparent a lot of us had left. She had great grandchildren. We did all the holidays at her house. Her husband was a paraplegic, died 10 years prior. So she was on her own. But she would like call, like she had 5 kids. And so the 5 kids and then grandchildren, she probably had like 16, and then great grandchildren, but she passed, she probably had 4 or 5. And like every holiday was still at her house. Like she was orchestrating, she was so sharp mentally, she would play cards, super sharp. And like at the end, so she was at my uncle's house and she slept in the shower and broke her femurs. And I mean, up to this point, like she had, like her health was always like, it was awful. I mean, she had all those ailments, but she just had a will to live, like looking forward to like weddings, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all the holidays. But it came to a point she broke her femurs, and I mean, going into my psychotic tendencies, I put my phone on airplane mode every night, so no one bothers me. Usually from like 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I have my phone on airplane mode. Probably shouldn't have had my phone on airplane mode in this instance because I had my phone on airplane mode. I was with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I think it was like 6:30 a.m. and like someone contacted my ex-girlfriend like, hey, tell Tom he has to answer his phone. So I took my phone out of airplane mode. I see like missed call from grandma, missed call from my mom, my sister, all these people, and so I called my grandma, and she's again normal voice, like she's like, hi Tommy, like just letting you know, like I'm saying bye, like take care of your mother. I love you, you're a great child, like you've been amazing, like your mom loves you, you take care of her, like all this stuff, like such nice things. And she's like, just like goodbye. I'm like goodbye. She's like, yeah, like I'm saying goodbye to everybody, like I'm done, like I'm good. And so she went through that morning, the night after she broke her femurs, was airlifted to the hospital. She went through all her kids, grandkids, great grandkids, cousins, everybody, said goodbye. Once she did that, probably within 20-30 minutes, she just was like kind of like dozing off sleep and passed away. And I just saw right there like the will to live. Like this woman, the only thing that changed is she broke her legs. Nothing else changed. Everything else was status quo. But when she said this is time, and that was it.
And she was in pain with the other chronic diseases.
Oh, she
right?
she had bone cancer. Like her back was killing her. Her knees hurt. She probably had to get her knees replaced. Her hip, like she could barely walk. Like again, overweight, obese, diabetic, congestive heart failure. Like had to go on was on dialysis 3 days a week. Like she was barely holding on. But she still had the will to live. But then when she broke the leg, she's like, actually I can't do this anymore. And so she decided that she. Gangster ever called everybody, said goodbye,
final wishes,
and then within 20-30 minutes she passed away on their terms.
So I hate to go back to this call, but on the call, do you remember what she said? Did she give you any specific message? She
wanted me to take care of my mom.
Explain, and where do you feel that came from? Like how did she say it? Did she say take care of your mom?
So so that's my mom's mom. So like just background on that. And like my mom, she's a great person, best heart ever, but she's a lot of energy, a lot of love, just a lot. She's Italian, just like the Italian mom, like you see, like she's like talking about the gravy, like just the hands, like that's her. But just a ball of love. And I think that could be taken the wrong way sometimes. And if you're not patient, it can be a lot. And I think that's something that, I mean, I struggle with. I know my sister does. It's just like patience with her.
Yeah.
Because
Do you feel like you kind of butt heads with her a little bit, or no?
Not my sister more butts heads. Me, it's just like I just feel overwhelmed,
Yes.
anxious from it.
So, in you feeling overwhelmed, is it that you kind of like give distance or something, or it could be perceived by her that you don't love her as much or something, or you don't prioritize her? But what you're doing, just keeping healthy space in your relationship, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like when we moved out of the house, it was hard for us. Our whole life was hard.
Because that proximity at least gave an illusion of kind of like
She cooked. She do.
100%.
I mean, she'd still do my laundry now. I don't live there. She cooked, she cleaned, did laundry, everything. She did it, and she would do anything still for us. She'd still tries to bring food or like, you know, like, well, you saw in the hospital, like,
Of course.
I have the most supportive, loving parents. Like from day, like they would live in that hospital with me when I got sick for 3 weeks if they could. But it's just trying to create healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
She's still, I mean, again, I love her to death, and like, and I'm also trying to frame in the mind, like, there's gonna come a day, unfortunately, where I can't call her, or like where she calls me like now, and like I don't want to answer it. But again, there's gonna be a day like 30, 40 years down the line, be like, I wish I answered my mom's call. I wish I did. So I'm trying to keep that perspective of like how blessed I am and how I'm lucky that she's so loving and supportive.
While not snapping on her when you guys are hanging out. But could you kind of unpack why you feel you have that feelings towards her? Is it possible that there's any trauma from childhood? And it doesn't have to be serious trauma, but do you feel like you know, her nurture is, and I'm not making assumptions here. I'm just saying, is it possible that you feel like her nurture is also tied into like the issues that you had with your self-image issues and like the weight, or do you feel like that's like an underlying motif and kind of like that unspoken contention against her, you know? Because I say this out of experience.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, and I'm not trying to like impose anything, but I feel that that's a dynamic that goes on with my relationship with my mom as well. I didn't want to like project that onto you, but I was just curious. Because it seems like there's more out there, because if you consider the love, or is it that love kind of undermines your masculinity? Like, could you kind of unpack that? Why you think?
I think the thing that where I get challenged, but again, you're right. Like even when I was fat, like she was never like, don't, like my dad was the one like, hey, like cut it out, like don't eat, like he would give me faces when we're eating out like dinner, like good. Like if I got like a Coke, you'd be like, you know, you'd be literally, it could be like a throat cut sign to stop eating, like when we had restaurants. But my mom was always like, oh, like even now she's like, oh, like you look skinny, like it's like the Italian things, like you got like it, but I think it came more so with my mother was challenging, I guess, my independence, because again, she did everything for me, but I realized, like, luckily early on in high school, I'm like, this isn't good. Like the fact that like if I'm so reliant on this person, like I'm gonna go to college, I gotta figure it out myself. And so luckily, again, I went to college, went away, and like figured it out. Like, and I had no problem with that. I was like able to do my laundry, no problem. Like able to keep status quo, cook for myself, all those things. And then coming back, I lived at home back after that, and then she wanted to keep doing like the normal, like cook, all that. And again, it's not coming from a bad place, clean. And then, but I saw like where it could go if like I would be like that like 35-year-old Italian like son that's just like the mom cooks, cleans, like does laundry for them, and like I
no ambition whatsoever, because you're living in a nice, comfy house, like, you know.
So I recognized early that I had to implement independence myself. Like I had to purposely do that for myself.
Yes.
If I wanted to strive, I recognized that early in college. Like I have to be independent and like not be on her, otherwise I never will be.
But it's funny that you say that, because I think this is going to resonate with a lot of people. When someone looks at you today, how you're eager to lean into discomfort, how you're always trying to shift your mindset, and you're leaning into growth areas. Growth areas just basically mean you're comfortable and you're growing. That's not your natural disposition. Your natural disposition actually is to allow to be passive. And I'm not saying that this or that, but like you saw, like based on what you said, it sounds like you saw yourself being okay with her just doing everything and just doing the absolute least to get by, and essentially just taking the path of least resistance. Mm-hmm. My question is, what snapped? Like try to go back. Like, what do you think? When do you remember being okay with it, and when do you remember not being okay with it?
I think it definitely tied into athletics.
Okay.
And I saw like putting work into something, like seeing the result. But I also think part of it that I still challenge with is like wanting to do things on my own.
Yes.
Again, very blessed, loving, supportive, like family to do everything. But my mom was like the one that was a nurturer to do everything. My dad was not. So they were polar opposites.
Yes.
And my dad unconsciously taught me like, you gotta sink or swim. Like he would put me in situations, me and my sister like drop us off like we're like probably like 8 or 9 years old at a pool we know nobody. And like he'd be like, I'll go swim the swim team. Not even introduce me like, hey, this is my son Tommy, like a pool we ran. He'd be like, oh, like go, like not even open the door, be like, hey, go down, I'll pick you up in a few hours. Like I'm like 8 or 9, like I know nobody, I don't know, I've never been at this pool before. And like I'm like, hey, like my dad's saying, he's like who's your dad? I'm like, Tom. I feel like, okay, well, go swim here. Like, and so like my mom was like the nurturer, do everything,
Yes.
hand holding. My dad was like, he did it without even realizing it. He didn't have the time. He's like, oh, go here, play, or like he dropped me off at a basketball camp. Never signed me up, but he was a teacher at the high school, so like he would drop me off. Not again, a normal dad maybe they just walk him and be like, oh, this is my son Tommy. Like he'd drop me, like I'll go in, like they know you're coming. I would go in there and be like, hey, like my dad said, you know, kind of like who are you? And I'd be like, my dad's Tom Upper, and he'd be like, let me talk to like the head guy, like, oh, like I guess okay, well, fill me out. And so like at an early age, I saw like I had to like figure it out. And like even like I worked at a country club. I was a manager of like a high-end country club at 17 years old, 18 years old.
That's crazy.
And so like I'm conversing and like I hated it. I fucking
Because you were just so uncomfortable.
I was so uncomfortable. Like
You didn't feel imposter syndrome was probably on 1,000.
yeah, I'm in high school. I just graduated high school. I'm like conversing. Like all the other managers there are like 30s or 40s.
That's crazy.
I looked older though, so like I pulled it
You
off.
got away with it, yeah.
But like I'm like I realized like I just have to maintain conversations with adults. Like and these people, like members, like a big part of being a pool manager at a country club, they want to just like shoot the shit and talk to
Literally,
them.
like,
and
just-
like I hated it. Like I just like was like, but like I realized
Because
like,
you knew that the more they talked to you, almost they would figure out that you, or was it that you just did not like the setting?
I didn't like the setting. I didn't mind if they figured out I was young.
Yeah. I
just didn't like. I didn't feel comfortable talking to them. Like, what do you talk about? But I realized like when you're there for 10 hours, you got to talk to somebody. So like I got in my comfort zone over time. And now actually, weird enough, I feel more comfortable talking to older people than people my own age.
Now,
Like,
why is that?
I think from the conditioning of working at country clubs, but also I feel like I don't relate much to people like my age currently.
Can you expand on that?
I just know like if I go like in like this, I went to DC like in like a bar setting and like you know like these people are like talking again. A lot of them work like 9 to 5 jobs and like they're talking about like oh like even the parents like I'm about to retire and like you talk to the guys like oh I'm gonna do coke, I'm gonna get hammered tonight, like I'm gonna like gamble on the game, like I'm gonna smoke weed, like, and they're like looking forward to those things. Granted, like I'm not above anything. Like I had a few drinks, but like I'm not really looking forward to getting drunk or doing those things. Like it's just not my scene. So it's like I always talk about, hey, like what type of workout you do? Like you guys, what do you mean? Like that's the conversation I want to have.
And they're like weirded out by that.
It's just a
They're
standard.
like, what do you mean workout? They're like, well, I do a spin class every now and then or something like that.
Yeah, or like they're eating like we're at a bar and there's like pizza and like all this food being
cheese,
all this food being served, and like I'm at there's like a charcuterie board and there's like there's strawberries and grapes. I'm just like sitting there eating strawberries and grapes. Like that's what I'm eating. And then like I left that environment and went to like a restaurant and got like half a roasted chicken, like you know, and oysters. But that's like for me, and like they're all eating that, and, like they're drinking beer and like doing that stuff, and like it's just like not my scene, you know.
Yeah.
And like it's tough because I'm not above that. It's cool.
course,
Like everyone
of
teaches their
course,
own, but like I don't see myself like the desire to get like hammered, eat bad food, feel like crap the next day. And people don't realize with drinking, again, it's
You
time
lose
place.
2 or 3 days of your workouts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You lose 2 or 3 days of your mental because like you drink, say if you drink Saturday, and also you get jet lag. So say you stay up late Saturday night, you're out drinking to 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you sleep in, Sunday morning you're hungover, Monday you're trying to get back on your sleep schedule, but you're still recovering, your body's still like physically recovering. By Wednesday you're finally actually getting back to normal, and then if you go out and drink Thursday or Friday night, you're just repeating the cycle.
Literally.
And but again, at the same time, I've been the person where I didn't go out to eat, I didn't go out for 2 or 3 years. I don't think that's healthy either.
Yeah.
So it's like finding a balance, and like picking and choosing your battles.
Of course, yeah.
But I also like I don't again, there's nothing wrong with people like they live for the weekend.
Of course, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that because as you know, like it's boring. Like you know, like being dialed in is kind of boring.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're dialed in, because I think that's where we vary, right? Because, you know, it's funny how you mentioned like, oh man, it's so difficult to find like be in this limbo where I'm not like doing all this stuff. While me, that's liberation. Like, and I think that's why our friendship is so interesting, because I wouldn't say that I'm not a focused person. Like, okay, big differences I would say is that I don't have I have a 9 to 5, but even my industry, financial advisors are kind of like the closest, one of the closest.
It's kind of like your own book of business.
100% your own book. So there's some elements of that to it. But one thing that I find interesting is, you know, have you ever considered like that there are other people out there who don't also like the party scene?
I know there 100% there are. I guess I struggle with being when I guess a lot of it's like tying back to old friendships or like seeing old people and like trying when I'm in those situations to relate to those people.
Of course.
But no, it's 100%. Like, and I was closed-minded to that for so long, and like, oh, like I'm like no one's like me. Like relationships are hard. Like all this. But once I finally like started asking God, like praying upon it, like actually seeking it, I met you at a shooting range, and that was a godsend. And then again,
and our relationship has just been building and nurtured from there. Have you ever considered that part of the reason you felt like the kind of like the friction with kind of like the other settings that you're a leader? Because think about it, you don't find like following like that whole idea of like going out there. You don't like even like you can sit at that bar and drink a glass of milk even if you wanted to. Like you're like, I'm not drinking alcohol, I'm just gonna drink a glass of milk.
I've always been like
and
that.
It doesn't matter what they say to you. They can't pressure you to get outside.
I'll never do what I don't want
like
to do.
you brought your own turkey to Thanksgiving. Like you know what I mean? Like so, like there's the reason why I ask you that is that I have that trait as well. And what I realized is, you know, the best thing that you can do is create your own support group. How do you feel like I created my own support group in my own life?
I think you did exceptional well because like I see, Sam, you found a life partner, and you have and they're literally building like from having a life partner and like yourself and like in a good life partner where you both have the same faith, like you like the same values, traditions, like that. It builds off of that. It branches out, and so you found somebody who meets you where you're at, and you can grow and build together and add to each other's life. And then obviously you added a child to that. But I also think you do a good job of being curious. You'll talk to anybody, and that's a skill I see. And like even from the first time I met you in high school, I think you probably catch me when we started talking. Like you have the charisma, you have that energy of just being at a higher level, and I think that comes from maybe like a higher level of faith, but also I think it's a higher level of just like belief in yourself.
Or peace even.
Or peace, or just being so just like good with you. But again, that energy from an outside perspective, I saw it like right away in high school, and that has only gotten grown since I've seen you. And I see the way people flock to you, even at like the shooting range, or in the church setting, or even the other friends, like, or even when you talk to people, it's contagious, you know. And so I think you've done a good job of building a network, surrounding yourself with good people, but you're not. I mean, you probably are like have belief in it, but you're also not like manifest.
No,
Manifest.
You're
going out. And
you
like,
know that I'm not that type of person.
You're doing. Take action. Like, hey, I want to do this. We're gonna see you. Let's do it this time. And like let's market. Like you do. And that's something that I love because with my friends growing up, I was always that person. I was always the one making plans. Even today, like a lot of things wouldn't happen if I didn't make plans or like do things with like my other friend group. With you, I don't have to worry about that because I know we're in the same page.
We're gonna find that time.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing. And also, I also was so I guess caught up for a while in my own head and like the business and like my own like pity party that I wasn't ready to branch out or to like expand out. Also, I think I didn't think I had the proof.
Oh wait, time out. Explain that. So you felt like you didn't have the proof. Like, what do you mean by that?
Again, going back to the imposter syndrome, like at the time where like I was on my like fitness and financial journey, but more so fitness journey. Like I was obsessed with fitness, all this, and like I had the physical body up until I got heart surgery, and then I lost my physical body. So like I had the physical body, I maintained it once I got it junior year of high school, up until I had my heart surgery, and I had a bunch of health complications, and I lost it. but I was still that person, like that super health nut that would bring their own food, that would like work out every day, like do all those things. I did a lot of things wrong with in hindsight, but I was still that person. But I felt like I couldn't be like, and I felt it. I remember I was at a Gold's Gym, and I was working in Austin, Texas at a Gold's Gym. I went to like a training, and like we were doing like a mile test, and some like jack dude was next to me, and like we ran a mile. I think I beat him in the mile. He's like, you don't look like you could do that.
That's crazy.
He's like, you like, because I was kind of like, I was puffy. I was like inflamed. I was like soft looking. Like I wasn't like fat, but I was just like, I didn't look the part.
He literally said he didn't look like.
He's like, wow, I'm surprised I didn't think you'd be able to do that like that. And so like that's where the imposter syndrome came. It's like I was never left that health nut person, but my physical body didn't emulate what I was doing.
And what you knew you were capable of. Likewise, the effort that you put in,
and it was awful. It was a horrible spot to be. But I guess the biggest thing, coming back to what we talked about before, is self-love. Because at that point, it was a self-hate. I'm like, you're fat. You're like, you gotta work out harder. You gotta diet harder. And that was just a perpetual cycle of when binge eating was the worst for me. Because I would like restrict, like either doing fasting or keto, or just like totally restricting calories. I'd go on a crazy binge, so I was starving myself and also working out hard, and then it would be every 5 or 6 days, just rinse, repeat, starve, restrict calories, binge, starve, restrict. And I got to a point of like, what am I doing? Like, and then I seeked advice. Like I've tried to find ways, and I found like, okay, like after a binge day, let's not fast for 18 hours or 20 hours. Let's actually eat like normal. Yeah. And then I realized again, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Wow.
And so finally came to the realization like, binging and then fasting and then repeating the cycle, like you do that like definition thing, you keep doing the same thing over and over again. I'm like, it has to change. So I remember like not that I don't struggle with that. I binged after I got sick, probably for the first time like a year this July. But since then I haven't binged. But again, it was a binge. But with that binge, it was other things too. I binged, and then I was in a relationship at the time, and I was like. So binging, it came back to hedonistic pleasure. I didn't watch porn since February. It was July. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was still like antibiotics. Work was crazy. I just went through a crazy thing. I was binging. I was like, and then so I'm like, I binged. Like, let's go all in. So I jerked off, watched porn, everything. Yeah. But I did have at the time, I was comfortable enough. And I told my person I did that, and she was very upset because that was a standard that I vocalized. So I said like, I don't watch porn, like I think that's cheating, and then I did it. But I disclosed it to her, which I didn't hide from her, which was good. Yeah. But at the same time, I just felt awful about myself. But again, realizing like I was at a bad place, like just mentally, physically, I just almost died from a bacterial blood infection. Yeah. I rushed back into the height of my work busy season. I'm trying to work out. I'm in a new relationship that probably wasn't the healthiest for me, and instead of like just like like you're a loser, you're the worst, because I would just repeat and like restrict myself. I'm like, okay, like we owned it, it happened, let's get back on the horse. And then since then I haven't binged, and I only honestly slipped up once watching porn since then. Yeah. But again, it's just realizing that like. Versus like every 5 days of binging, it became like, okay, that happened, and then we're not going to starve ourselves, we're not going to freak out.
So it ends up being, is it that it ends up being hedonistic pleasure? Because it's interesting, because when I consider pornography, like, when you think about like a way to like control or captivate a man, it's like control his eye dates, right? So here it is, you just have like ladies who are pretending or to pleasure and just like stimulate that, because that's not really what happens like in general. And even if that is what happens, like that person that you're with actually may have some mental illnesses, because that doesn't come out of a place of love, you know what I mean? It's like where do you find that what are processes that get you to dip into that? Because once you get there and after, you don't feel good, I'm assuming. It's the rush of like, it's the rush prior, during, but then after you're like, wow, like.
It's once like, I guess like come clarity, like after a guy like comes like you, that's like the worst feeling. But I guess what propels me there is what I used to is my current reality is so overwhelming or all-consuming. I don't have a healthy coping mechanism.
That's the
I
only
usually
healthy
escape.
thing. Yeah.
Because honestly, even when I was like watching porn a lot, like most of the time I wasn't even horny.
That's crazy. You just get.
I was just doing it like as a way to escape. And then the same thing with the eating, the binging and stuff would be like a way to escape the pool work. So I caught myself realizing the cycles of like overeating and then watching porn was like, I'm not really hungry and I'm not really horny. I'm just eating because like if I'm eating, I don't have to work. So that was my excuse. Like, oh, I'm eating dinner, and then dinner becomes another 3-hour binge because like I don't want to. I'm just avoiding doing work. But then the next day, like I felt like crap, and then I would have to do the work anyway. But then the porn, I like again most of the time I never really like I would say addicted to it, but the most times I would watch porn
when it's stressful
was during my pool season because like
and you can't avoid the pool season. The
No.
pool season is continually gonna come.
It's gonna come, and like that would be like again I wouldn't be horny. I'd be like so up at work and like I seen that I need to escape, and so like I would go and do it. Like again, I wasn't like I was like oh I'm like horny right now. I'd be like I just gotta escape.
I need to get my mind off.
It's a release.
Yeah.
And so now I don't like not masturbate if I want to, but I realize like it's not that it's definitely a lot more difficult. But like if you do it without any stimulus, like it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not.
Which means it's kind of unnatural, right?
Yes.
That's not, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
not what it was created for. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think another interesting thing about like avoidance is like in life, you just gotta face the problem head on. Because as a man or individual, if you don't face that thing head on, there's areas in your life where that is also affecting you. That same block is affecting you. Because by circumventing it or staying behind the wall and hiding under something that deflects you, that rather than facing that thing, almost all the time, whatever that is that you're doing not to face that obstacle is taking you farther away from your goal.
100%. And that's where I'm currently in now and trying to stay with it is like
It's tough though.
it's awful. It's honestly this year has been the hardest year of my life, but I've had the best, I guess, like tools at disposal. Like I've had the wisdom or I've had the life experience. Because if I went through what I've been through the last 6 months, I would be a hedonistic little like monkey. I would be like binging. I'd be watching porn multiple times a day.
Yeah.
I would be like trying to like do things that are awful.
Yeah.
So I think I have the tools now, but what I'm really actually sitting with is, I guess, it's a sense of, I want to say loneliness, but it's a sense of being with myself, by myself.
That's tough.
Because
It's difficult.
It's the first time, like, in the my off season of work that I'm not living with somebody.
Your state of mind. So it's very important, like in this state of your life, I found like in my journey to really protect that space and surround yourself with people who you found have gone through and walked that walk. And loneliness, don't get me wrong, it's unavoidable, but trust me, you'd be surprised how many other people are lonely. They might not be lonely they might be lonely to an extent that they might not verbalize or they're comfortable in their loneliness, but you'd be surprised how working out with someone is like, could be a way to like, again, spend that time together. Like, look how much time we spend together working out. I don't think you've noticed, every workout I've done, the last 2 months, I haven't worked out by myself. I'm always working out with someone. And it's someone who I'm deliberate with, someone who I want to have friendship with, but our lives won't allow us to. So it's like that effort of exercising together, putting to the pavement, is like, that community is like super important. And like that, you don't have to overcomplicate it, because human beings are very much still like, interactive people. Going back to a book that I think would be very important for you is Tribe. You probably read it already. You should check it out when you have a time. It's called Tribe. It's really cool. It's like this whole idea of like creating your own tribe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very important, which is like crazy. And I think one thing I wanted to, I just circling back to you, compared to last year busy season, what changed? Not this past busy season in the pool business compared to years prior. What changed? Was there any difference at all?
It was a lot better structured.
Talk to me.
And like less busy. So what I implemented was I hired an HR. So in the past, you're looking at the head of HR, the head of like invoicing, the head of like survival management of like just like
substitute,
yeah,
substitute for people.
lifeguard, still like manager, all that stuff. And the problem is like my ego and like what I've always seen with my father is wearing as a badge of honor. I do it all. I can do it all. I don't need anybody. I can do it all. And I saw my mental and physical health like crumbling every pool season. I reached a point. Again, I saw it more so like as my intimate relationship. Like both the last 2 years, which not this past season, the other 2 seasons, I was with somebody, same person, and like by the end of the pool season, like I didn't really know that person anymore.
Wow.
Because
like, you had just grown so much apart.
we grown so much
What
apart,
happened?
yeah, because I neglected her, and so like I was just so consumed with work. Like it's hard to explain to somebody from the outside. Like again, this year was better, but in the past, like we're talking like 50 to 60 text messages a day of different conversations, different people, not just one person, 50, 60 conversations, just work. And then another like 30, 40 phone calls a day on top of answering emails and on top of going places. And that's
repetitive. Where's the repeat?
7-8 months straight. So I like would lose like trying to every fall like rekindle the relationship like, and I didn't do a good job because I was like, oh, like it's like relationships don't take work until you're married. So like I don't have to do anything. I'm gonna still do me. And like for her mindset was, okay, like in the fall/winter, he's gonna have time, so we can spend all this time together. So she was like holding out and waiting for like, in the winter, I got him. He's mine. He's all mine.
Then what happened?
In the winter, I was like, you're not all mine. Because like my own tendencies, like at the first summer with her, like I was working at a gym, so like I went from that to going right into the gym and keeping the constant work schedules. Like for me, that's comfortable. But then last year, I consciously decided not to do another winter gig and just focus on the business, which turned out to pay dividends in this season because I hired an HR person. She also helped with like bookkeeping and just took so much off my plate. Plus, I had more time and everything, and I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. And so like if I didn't have her and all that stuff, it would have been a lot worse. I had better systems in place, like with just like the managers' expectations, communicating what pools. I did referral program with lifeguards. I had more lifeguards than ever. I think also the timing of COVID ending helped. But I hired more lifeguards than ever, so it was an issue. So it's better planning with that winter. That helps. So it was like using that time to forecast, or like again, I'm fortunate enough that my business we have an off season where like work goes down like
tremendously. Like it's literally like non-existent.
Like I went to a pool today, but like I maybe go to a pool once a week. That's a lot.
Crazy.
So it's like it goes from like 100 down to like 5% or 10%. So that's good though, because it's almost like, hey, it was time to recoup, reevaluate, assess, and all that. So I used that time for the first time last winter, and it paid great dividends. I had more freedom than ever during the summer. But that's also a double-edged sword because those last 2 seasons where I worked my ass off with that person and neglected her and didn't give her any attention, my whole mindset to all that was like, I'm doing this for our future. Like I'm doing it like, and that's something too that I realized, like again, just talking about heartbreak is people. I heard this the other day. It's like you don't realize this, but like, yeah, you lose the person, but you also lose what the things you thought you were going to build with the person. So you lose the house you thought you were going to have that person. You lose the family you thought you had this person. The kid, like, because I realize now is like, oh, like I thought like there was going to be like I thought I was going to have a family with this person. I thought I was going to have a house. Like my whole future was tied to this person because like I was working like a dog for us. You know, like I was doing it for us. And then for this summer, I saw for the first time like, oh, I had time to go down the shore, I had time to do those things. And I felt like, oh, like even though I was with somebody, which I shouldn't have probably been with that person, I was like, oh wow, like I feel like I owe that person. Like I want to give back to that person because she was with me when I was
when you weren't like that, yeah.
When I was just like non-existent, she was putting up with my BS.
And you know the funny thing that's actually interesting about that? That's false compassion, right? It's false compassion because if you consider a relationship like it's false compassion both ways, because it's false compassion and like when you're in that relationship, you're like, oh, this person's stepping through it. They know that I'm working like a dog, so you know I'm going to show them out when I'm out of the season to give them. Also, false compassion on the other person, like, oh, he's obviously going to see me suffering. So, but dude, that's not how it's like. Like, if you're not married, there's no promise. So I think that's another thing that can lead to a lot of guys' heartbreak. unless someone has agreed to marry you, first of all, that you had the testicular fortitude to actually propose to someone and be like, I want you to be my wife, meaning you take a ring and you put it on their finger and you have a date set in, bro, call it whatever you want, that's not an agreement. Me and you, we can sit down about business all we want right now until we sit down and we're like, hey man, this is what we're gonna do, this is the commitment. Even if we don't sign paper, but we commit to a set time and we have perimeters to a relationship and we're like, hey dude, we can only get out of this if so and so happens. Until there's a firm commitment, honestly, man, that all that other stuff is like trash. That's why I personally don't believe in dating, because honestly, it is a waste of time if you really think about it. Because if you look at all the ladies that you dated from whenever you started working to now, like, okay, whenever you started working to like a year ago that you're not with, like, other than the quote unquote experiences you got, like it's a waste. Like, you could have got those same experiences from high school or college. Let's be honest.
But
I just wanted to throw that out there.
No,
yeah.
and that's a valid point. The only thing I would add to that, where I think experience in the sense of like looking for companionship, I think the stuff that I think each relationship teaches you a lesson.
That's true.
And so I think today, the man I am today and how I treat my current relationship is a 180-degree person from Tom last year.
100%.
Because I got kicked in the dick.
Of course.
And I learned, and like I got what I thought I wanted with another person. I was using ego. I was naive. I thought relationships didn't take work. I guess also I was inundated at a young age with a lot of bad male figures in relationships.
Yeah.
That's something that I like. Fortunate enough, I found early on in my life. I went to a men's group and saw actually like healthy relationships with wives. But up until that point, up until probably when I was 24, I thought marriage was a trap. I thought marriage was a trap. All my uncles, even my father, like they're like, don't rush to get married. Like it's not like it's awful.
Yeah.
But every male figure in my life up until age 24,
It's a trap.
Don't get married.
Wow.
And those same male figures, and even my like everyone, they still say those things. But again, I reached the
Take with a grain of salt.
again meeting the relationship with your wife. I was like,
100%.
that was again.
It was like you're like, wow, like there's.
You remember the questions I asked you?
Yeah.
I'm like, she's okay that you're here right now. Like this is cool. Like, because the relationships that I saw, and besides the men's group I was a part of, it was the first time I saw like a partnership. Like I don't know, my wife's everything. I love her. Like we'd be great together. Like I can't imagine my life without her. First, all the guys like, oh, like I don't want to go home. Like, I don't want to go with my wife. Like all those things. And I also realized I created that same energy.
Yes. With the relationships that you had.
Yeah.
So you were almost like
I was
perpetuating that.
I was manifesting my own destiny.
Yeah, literally perpetuating like the behaviors that you thought were normal.
Because I wasn't communicating. I just assumed like they would understand what I was saying. Like
Use work as an escape kind of thing, not to
Same thing my
avoid
father
no
did.
problems. Yeah.
just like would work, just like, oh, I can't do this, that's a work and like stuff. And then realizing, even now, it's like that there's things even with work, especially if you own your own business, you can make time.
Yeah.
Like there's time, but
100%.
you have to be wanting to do it.
Because you have 7 days in the week, so even if it's just Saturdays are for my family, Saturdays are for my family.
Yeah, and it could be you wake up earlier and you work in the morning, or you work at night.
Or not at all. Like
if you don't have to.
Because if you look at it, let's be honest, there's 24 hours in a day. If you work 18 hours every other day, but you go to bed early the night before, like let's say you extend your hours on the other day, like there's other things that could be compromised all throughout the week before. That's what I'm kind of going at. But like even taking that aside, I wanted to ask you another question. Like in terms of the new business adventure that you're going into, how is that not going to distract you from learning how to be comfortable and learning more about yourself?
Because with this business, I'm starting with the end in mind. So, unlike my current business, it's very consuming. It's big. It's running. It's hard to make changes. It's hard to streamline and make efficient.
Yeah.
With this business, the end goal is where it's self-sustaining. Like I'm literally at the end in mind. Like, hey, I want this where it can be self-sufficient. I don't have to run this. Like I literally, all I have to do is like the next, like after I find someone to ship this out, like the next step would just be I need somebody just to manage like feedback. Like I want it to be totally self-sustaining, where I only have to tap in like 10 hours a week max. Of course, like that's the end goal. But again, similar to you, distracting myself, and it is distracting, but it's really not, because at this point, it's distracting once it becomes a real
tangible thing, of course. But let's be honest, like that's gonna happen. Like
100%.
Like it's not that it's not gonna be going to, but like the reason why I bring that up is not to dissuade you from it. I just want to be fully clear.
Oh, 100%.
The reason why I asked,
and that's my goal. Is honestly, selfishly, internally, I want this to pick up so it feels like my time. But
of course,
but
my question is this: what systems have you put in place to check yourself when it becomes all-consuming? Like, have you considered, like, okay, so last year, and again, sorry to go back to last year, but last year there was a lot of external circumstances that happened that were beyond your control that forced you to take a step back. You mentioned in this time of your life, you're at a point where you're trying to artificially create kind of resistance and structure in your life. So what, like, looking at this, your new business adventure, what are some things that you can consider in terms of like creating safeguards against yourself to not let yourself spill over into it, that you end up being in a
I'm like, I gotta work. And like the first, like, I went like a whole day without it, but then like Sunday I did some work in the morning, like, and then I talked to my therapist Monday. I'm like, oh, I felt awful. This was awful. I can't do this. And he's like, hey, like, you gotta sit through. He's like, maybe you do, if you have to work, don't not work. Maybe do a couple hours in the morning, but then create time. Like, if you feel like you have to do something. I felt like every day I had to do something, some sort of work. Again, work is
relative. Like,
I
was about to say, you could work on yourself. Like, you know, like, but like outside of the physical, it's like, all right, like journaling, like literally. Okay, so on a day that you're off, dude, a good exercise is when you wake up, like writing your dream down, and then
I do that.
And then 4 or 5 hours later, how am I feeling right now? Like, like what's going through my mind? Like, where am I at? Like, bro, there's things that you can do to keep yourself occupied, including going to visit your mother.
Yes.
So like, that's another thing to kind of curb loneliness in a sense of like just going and like there's things that you can do or coming through. Yo, AD, what are you up to? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's things you can do in that free time. And I think a good exercise for you. Actually, no, I'm not recommending anything. But one thing that I've noticed, because believe it or not, I was someone who used to work 7 days a week. But what changed was I did something. I was like, I wonder if I could work 3 days a week. But those 4 days, I'll fill it up with meaningful, like my personal life, like work on my personal life, like prioritizing that. Maybe 4 days is too much. Maybe it's 3 days. Because the weekend, that's too easy, bro. Because everyone's available the weekend. But the thing about the Fridays, a lot of people still work on Fridays and Thursdays. And that isolation, like leaning into that, like I think it's very important for you going to the next stage in your life.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, which sounds very uncomfortable, but it's like so powerful. To like kind of lean into that.
And coming back to the work, I'm not talking. For me, my idea at the time of work was like pool work, or
of
business
course,
because like I was still. I mean, the weekends, like I was journaling, I was working out. Like that's a given.
Yeah.
But it was like me actually doing like pool work or answering emails, like doing something like that's what was like. I feel like if I'm not doing something, I'm not moving the needle. And so that was. And honestly, I'm now on like weekend number 5, where like I go a whole weekend and I'm not thinking about work. For the first time. I mean, I can't say I'm not thinking about it, because I did think about it. Yeah, because I did, we fucked up thinking of the pool, like we were filling the pool, and I wondered if it overfilled, like, so there was something there.
Do you feel someone could be too busy to die?
In what sense?
I'm just saying, do you think someone could be too busy to die?
I'm trying to unpack that. So
like if you look at the experiences in your life last year, like it doesn't matter how busy you are. Death doesn't care how busy you are.
Oh, and that's something I realized.
And at that so again, explain. Do you feel anyone is too busy to die?
No.
And in light of that, what is important, right?
And that's where I think...
What's important in your life, in light of that? One being faced with it twice last year.
Yeah, and that's something, again, if you talk to... the last 6 months have been so interesting, because before I got sick, I was probably the best mentally, physically, spiritually, like in touch with God, like my relationship. I was the best I've been in 5 years. Like I was feeling myself.
How would you say?
I literally
sitting on the bench.
I was literally with my ex-girlfriend at the time. I'm on the beach, and this is like literally a week and a half before I get this crazy bacteria infection. I'm like, things are going too good. Like I'm the girl I thought of my dreams. My physical body is impeccable. I'm physically strong. I'm mentally strong. Like I'm good with myself. Like I'm in touch with God. I'm like spiritual. Like I'm strong. Like I look good. I feel good. Like mentally. Like no depression. None of that. And I was like, yeah. And like I literally remember saying to myself like, and I think I even said out loud to her, I'm like, wow, things are going really well. Like whatever. And then literally a week and a half later, I started to get sick. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm in the hospital bed. And I'm there in the hospital bed. Again, total honesty, like I was so like sick and like just lost because I was missing my ex-girlfriend at the time, the one who I broke up with.
Brain fog.
I was going through 104 plus fevers, even on antibiotics.
You were
it would be like, I would literally be exorcisms, like shivering, spike of fever, sweat, and did that at least 4 times a day, even on high antibiotics. And I remember at night, I'm just like sitting there and like thinking, like the only thing I thought of was I honestly wanted to die. It was like, I'm ready to go. And that if I was with the girl who I broke up with, she'd be with me there, supporting me through it. And like, I missed her. And again, it was a blessing though, because I realized through that experience that the girl who I was with at the time, she's a great person, but it wasn't
very surface level relationship.
It was not.
What can you do for me lately?
Yeah, it wasn't good. It didn't handle that well. So I learned that early on. Literally, the girl who I thought of my dreams. Literally, I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, I think I found the one, because I'm like, I think I'm going to marry this girl. And then literally, once I got sick, 2 months later, I'm like, I can't. This girl, I can't do it. So like, literally, God, He gave me exactly what I asked for, everything.
And it wasn't what you wanted
at all. And so literally took me out. And through that, I got humbled real quick. And then I didn't have really time to process things. I was on PICC lines, I was antibiotics, still not feeling good. And in the pool season, whatever. And then starting to get like my health back a little bit. PICC line came out. Went on a date with this current girl. Had a great time. And then the next morning, I'm like feeling myself. It's like 7:30 in the morning. I take out the jet ski. I'm like waving my neighbor, like it's no one's out there. It's like the weekend after Labor Day, the main pool season's over. I'm like feeling myself. I'm like driving around like an asshole, like doing like 360s, like all this. And then I look down, going 58. I whip it real quick to the right. I fly off left, and I land on my shoulder/neck. Feel something pop. They got unconscious. My arm went numb, but I still had like. I'm numb to 3 fingers, but I could still like move it. Like not numb, I guess, like but like a tingling, like still move it. I swim back on the ski, drive back to the house. I'm there alone, just with the dog. I drove up to my parents. We go up to an engagement party in New York that day.
Did you drive your parents?
I drove to my parents from the shore.
You drove like.
I'm like this, just like drive like that, moving my head. Excruciating pain. But I went. This happened at 7:30 in the morning, and then 12 o'clock I went to my parents, like cleaned the house, went to my parents. Drove my parents to New York to my cousin's engagement party, and like there, like moving like this, like took my little cousin's kids, slept at my parents' house that night. The next morning went to orthopedic, and the doctor's like, you gotta go to the hospital. He didn't really say anything, and then I went to the hospital, Morristown, I fractured my 6th vertebrae.
And how serious is that fracture?
It's, thank God, I didn't, my muscles weren't intact, so I didn't need surgery, but it was very likely I would have needed surgery. But I was in a neck brace for 8 weeks.
Does that kind of vertebrae cause like paralysis, or is it?
I mean, it could have. If it slipped, it could have severed my spinal cord. Like my
so what is a fracture? Like you mean like it broke or cracked or?
Yeah, cracked my vertebrae in my neck.
Wow.
Yeah, they cracked.
And your spine, no nerve damage or anything?